welcome back. So today's chat is more from John Maxwell's Leading Through Change podcast episodes that we talked about last time. Last time I ended by saying, go forth and find a new perspective on anything that isn't serving you. So while today we're going to start by talking about the stages of change so that you can help other people through them, you'll be able to put this into practice for yourself as well, right? Let's start with the unfortunate truth. And this is a quote from Hoffer, and I'll read it. People will cling to an unsatisfactory way of life rather than change in order to get something better. So they'd rather not change to get something better for fear of getting something worse. So my examples will be work related, but you see this every day, right? Dr. John Maxwell talks about 5 levels or stages of changes. So first, new information is accepted. This sounds so simple, but it isn't, because when you're told something you don't like, there's probably a good chance that you do not accept it at first, right? So this stage deals with perspective, a new way of seeing things. People actually have to accept the information. So let's do an example. Let's say that there's a director talking to one of her managers about how to improve the manager's department. This could also be a manager talking to an employee about improving performance or something like that. So at this first stage, the manager is hearing the director say that his department is not running effectively enough. He has to hear and accept that perspective as being possibly true. Without that, we're not going to get anywhere. So what happens second is that a new attitude is accepted. This stage deals with feelings, a new way of emotionally relating to the information. This is critical, and it's probably the crux of what psychology does, what we do as therapists, because what's absolutely critical to keep in mind is that people always change faster intellectually than emotionally. We can understand the information, but actually being able to emotionally cope with it can be very and exceedingly difficult. So between the first stage and this stage, the manager has intellectually accepted that his department is not performing optimally. To reach this new stage, however, the manager is going to have to overcome fears, different feelings. It could be fears, it could be worse, right? So he could have the fear that he's been a failure, that he's going to get fired, but really the feelings are probably anger toward the director for saying that or thinking that, even if he comes to accept it. Feelings of failure like we talked about, and now he has accepted that changes do indeed need to occur at his department. So that's the second part. A new attitude is accepted. So now the new attitude is, yes, I see that changes do need to occur in this department. So he's gotten over the feelings aspect. The third part is that the new behavior is actually practiced. Now we're doing really well. If we've gotten through the intellectual and the emotional part of accepting this whole thing, the new behavior being practiced is pretty likely to happen, very likely to happen. So this stage actually deals with choices, actions, formation of habits, for example. So what we have here is like the manager would now be analyzing why his department isn't running well. Could start to improve processes, could coach his people better, could perhaps find continuing education options for himself, things like that, or his people. So this is really the action-oriented part of change. And fourth and finally in our levels of change is that the person's own convictions influence others. This is the highest level according to Dr. Maxwell and deals with investment and ownership, true ownership. Now, not everyone's going to reach this level, and you actually don't need this level to happen to have the change be successful, but you still need people in the organization to reach this level. So if our manager reaches this level, then what you'd expect to see here is for him to commit to process improvement, not just do this one time, but to do it on an ongoing basis because he now sees the value of continually improving the department and not just being stagnant or letting some things slide. Then his convictions around the process improvement would then start convincing his direct reports to see the value in this new behavior so that they would proactively point out improvement options to him. So definitely, I think you can see that the first two stages are going to be the most critical to even get to change happening in your organization. So those are the levels of change described by John Maxwell. And what I thought we would do is bring this together with as an example from what we talked about last time. Last time we talked about creating a great company culture. And here I want to talk about helping a person change. How are we going to do this? I'm going to talk about a toxic behavior that we could try to change. I bring this one up specifically because toxic behaviors in the workplace can really kill company culture. And the one we're going to do an example of today is going to be gossip. It makes people less promotable, so they should have a reason to change, right? Intellectually, they should have a reason to stop changing. But really, I really want to say that no company is going to have a great culture if it allows gossip to happen. And these are conversations you're going to have with people to help them change. So let's do this. So let's go back to this. So stage one. In stage one, you need to talk to the person, and the person has to accept the perspective that they are a gossip. This can be a challenge if they tell themselves that they are simply sharing information that other people would want to know. Doesn't that sound nice? I'm just sharing information. People want to know this. They know this person. It's going to help them. And I'm saying that a little flippantly, but that is a true perspective that people who gossip have, that it will ingratiate them toward people as well, and that they're helping in some way. Now, this perspective is false, and it really only serves to protect their ego, that to defend the idea that they gossip. So if and when they accept that they do gossip, and that is not a good behavior because it will, in this case, make them less promotable, they can then go to step two, which is for the person to embrace a new feeling. Now, this is hard because I said earlier, like, this is the thrust of what psychologists do generally, is to help people take in the intellectual part and reframe how they think about this so that they have new feelings. So do you know what leads a person to gossip? So there's two. There might be more, but I see it as two. First, there's the desire to people please, meaning they see themselves as adding value to other people through information and some entertainment, right? They probably tell the story in an interesting way. The second one is a fear that they will be uninteresting if they give up this behavior because they're not sure what else they would talk about that would entertain people. This fear of what else would I talk about is really what would prevent a person from moving to stage three. But at stage three, they would then want to practice, they would then be practicing the behavior of not gossiping. I understand that this example seemed to come out of the blue and that not everyone will like it, but it can be a real problem in companies. So if you want to create a culture of change, your culture needs to be free of drama, and you will need to coach or terminate people who hurt your culture, period. You will need to coach or terminate your people who hurt your culture. So this example hopefully provides a sense of the value that gossip holds for them and why it'd be so hard for them to give it up. And with that knowledge, my hope is that your coaching works, termination is unnecessary, and you end up fostering a kick-ass company culture so you can go forth and create the amazing changes that will make everyone's lives better. This was an interesting one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you next week about something new. Ciao.